What's going on, everyone? Been another few weeks since I made a live video. I'm pretty sure actually even in the last video I was going to bring them back, but they seem to not be given priority right now. But soon I'll be back every day, blowing up everybody's inboxes again, which I'm sure just everybody loves when I did my 30-day and then my 90-day challenge. But there's a time and place for everything. There's a time to push on social media. There's a time to lay back, improve systems, really focus on some of the assets that we bought, and keep improving. I mean, an asset. Well, I should back up. Everyone gets so caught up in the unit count. You know, everyone gets so caught up in the kind of flash of it and the draw to it. I mean, even in this post to get everybody's attention, you want to put 96 slot park. But the reality is that an asset can turn into a liability so quick whenever you don't pay attention to it, or whenever you're buying too much and you don't actually finish the job before moving on to the next one. The exciting part is always buying. That's always going to be the exciting part. But the people that succeed are the ones that stick with it and fully finish the project before taking on something else, or have a good team in place where they can let them finish the project and then you can go pursue other opportunities. I see it so often, and I'm actually even guilty of it, is, you know, you buy something that's really exciting and then something else exciting pops up and you get your first project 90% of the way there and then you let off the gas. Before you know it, that asset, it's a liability. It's not making any money. And it's crazy how fast assets can go downhill, from single family houses to mobile home parks to apartment buildings to commercial buildings. I bought them all. It is insane how fast, whenever you don't give something attention, it's going to dwindle. Like it's incredible. And it doesn't necessarily have to be your attention, but it has to be somebody's, which is where a good team can come into place. But that's exactly what I was doing today. I went up, so we have a 96 lot park up in Ponca City. It's actually the very first asset I ever bought. And if you can believe it, I bought mobile home parks, then apartment buildings, and then single family houses. I think most people. But for me, that park is always like going to be like near and dear to my heart. I love it. Probably never going to sell it, but it, like everything else, requires constant attention. So I think it's super important that whenever you're buying something or actually managing a remote, you have to keep everything as simple as possible. Like, I know this may shock some people, but I know that there's so many different softwares out there to collect rent, and this is just one example. And everyone's always jumping around from the best, or I use Asana, or I use Monday, or I'm using Buildingham. And at the end of the day, like, none of that matters. Simple is better. And if your team can't understand it, it's a complete waste of time. So we manage the majority of our bigger assets. We're even on-site manager with Excel sheets. Like, we're not using Buildingham. We're not using Asana. We're not using Monday. We're not using anything complex. I know that it might take a little bit longer, but it's simple, and I can glance at it because it's color-coded and understand exactly what's going on. And Excel is something that people have been using forever. So I think it's extremely important, and really the reason for this post is to keep it simple. I was kind of reminded of that today during my visit, because of course I want to use the most sexy product out there as well. I want to use the thing that theoretically, like Podio, was, I think, all the rage about a year ago, and everyone said, oh, you can build it out to do everything. And then you're spending all your time tinkering with some stupid software instead of actually calling owners and making offers, or managing your assets that desperately need your attention because you're convinced that this thing is the answer. It's not. Simple's better. Excel's the answer. Make things in ways that people can understand and then slowly improve upon them. Don't just like dump some new software in somebody's lap. But anyway, today was an amazing day. The park's looking amazing. We're enforcing park rules. We're moving some mobile homes in. Raising lot rent, like it's an amazing asset that, again, I'll probably hold on to forever. It's incredible too, the value that has gained. We probably got almost $1 million of equity just in that property alone, which blows my mind. But thanks to I guess the current environment, some cap rate compression, and just maximizing the asset is sometimes the most valuable thing you can do, is to focus inwards and focus on your current assets instead of going and buying the shiny thing. I will say though that commute days killed me. And I kind of say that jokingly, and it's also kind of the truth. But spending, 3 hours in the car just absolutely like it drains me. Like, everyone who watches my videos knows that I like to have like everything time blocked, like to the second. And so the idea of sitting there and having to spend an hour and a half in the car just eats at me when I could be doing something else. So I try to fill it up with phone calls all the way there, and then intentionally tried not to do anything on the way back to get some quiet time, and ended up on a 45-minute phone call. But sometimes that just how it has to happen. But I appreciate everybody watching. Anybody watching have any questions? I realize it's not something I do a lot. How we bought the 96 lot mobile home park, how we manage it, who financed it, what terms we got. You have any questions? I'll happily answer them. How to buy your first mobile home park. Maybe let's go with that. I'll wait a second too. First, you have to find one. Step one. How'd you finance it? From Hayden? Initially, so we bought it with, initially bought one half of it, so it was 48 lots. Bought it from directly to seller, which is how we buy everything. We initially financed it back in 2018. It was the very first thing I ever bought with First Oklahoma Bank. And I should actually phrase it this way. They provided 80% of the funding. So let's say it's $1 million purchase price. They provided $800,000, 80%. And then we found a private lender to give us the other 20% plus some cushion. So imagine 80% from a bank, 800,000, another 200,000 from a private lender. Again, this is personally guaranteed, promissory note. If we don't pay this back, we lose everything. It doesn't matter how the asset does. Like, this is at monthly payments, you must pay it back. And this was actually at 17% interest as well. It was again, the first thing I ever bought. It was in a season of, I'm going to do whatever it takes to get myself out of this cubicle. And sometimes interest rate, sometimes the deal still works and you just got to go for it. Like, don't let your ego stop you from doing a deal. Just because your track record doesn't support raising money, that means you're going to pay a premium. Don't let it stop you if the deal still works. So 80% from the bank, 20% from this private lender, and then we got another like 10%. So imagine borrowing extra 100,000 on top for closing costs, operating account, and there was 9 mobile homes that we needed to go renovate, and we needed a fund to do that. A lot of banks don't want. A lot of banks, in fact, I'm not even sure I found a bank yet, to correct myself, that'll actually lend on fixing up mobile homes when at park. When you buy it, you just have to borrow more in your operating account to make those repairs. So I'm paying a bank loan for $800,000, and I'm paying a private investor for $300,000. It's all personally guaranteed. It's all on the line. And those monthly payments were astounding. Another component to how we financed it is Ryan and I bought this Spark, and we both had full-time W-2 jobs at the time, which really, really helped get us started. We both stayed at our W-2s for 8 months to a year. Me 8 months, Ryan closer to a year before we left and went full-time. And by that time, we had over 100 units. We'd had the track record. And it was a lot easier to sell ourselves to banks because we didn't quit our job when we bought 4 houses. I mean, how do you go to a bank when you bought 4 houses and say, I'm a professional real estate investor? You're not. You go to a bank when you bought 100 in the last year, people start to talk. So I think you kind of need to be, aware of your situation. And I certainly would not have left my job if I didn't think we'd get bank financing going forward. Thanks for the question, Hayden. Anybody else have any questions? I can answer how we found that investor, that private investor. He was a friend of a friend's dad from high school. So back in high school, I was always the kid that was up to something, always trying to start something, or that was wholesaling printers out of my parents' garage, tracking artists across the country for 6 months, trying to figure out like what builds an artist or builds a fan base. My first ever venture was when I was 15. I started a penny auction, and I actually blew up, got like 3,000 members on it. So I think by the time I was 18, I had tried and failed, I'll say to a varying degree, at like 5 or 6 different companies. Throughout college was no different. And so I was even like when I was a teenager going to my parents' friends and being like, hey, give me $10,000. I'm about to go flip this car. And they'd say, you're 14. How are you even going to buy it? So just to kind of give you an idea of what kind of child I was. And, people pay attention. Of course, they're not going to give you money when you have no track record of following through on anything. But, one of the reasons that college might be a good thing is it does give you a track record of sticking something out for a long time and seeing it through. And this one guy saw it and took a chance on us. And yeah, it was at 17% interest. Yes, it was personally guaranteed. But at the same time, I had zero track record. I had like $3,000 in my bank account. I just graduated college, and I'd never bought a piece of real estate before and still living with my parents. So did the risk equal the rate? Absolutely. In fact, if it was me, I'm probably not loaning myself any money. So I kind of look back and can't believe he took a chance on us, but very glad that he did. He's still one of our largest investors right now. Anybody else have any questions about mobile home parks? How to buy them, how to finance them? I'm still looking to buy. If anyone finds one, I'm happily partner, show you how to do it. I've got investor money lined up. I've got banks lined up. Spark Construction's ready to go. We're renovating 10 houses at a time right now, or I should say 10 houses per month. We've got some bandwidth. We just bought a mobile home park, not last week, but the week before. It's a little smaller one, but it should cash flow, I think, like $2,500 a month. Pretty crazy that one asset like that can just replace your W-2 just like that. 2,500, one asset. It's not even big. What is the most successful way to find more parks? Mobile home parks are different. Most of them are still owned by mom and pop operators. So I would pull up, like you can pull lists from the county and then skip trace, and all skip tracing software is the same to let them convince you to pay a premium. It's all the same. I use Skip Genie, but that's just because I like the platform. They all work. And Hayden, because you're a member of the Spark Mastermind group, you actually have free access to Skip Genie. So don't go pay for anything. But you could pull a list from the county, skip trace it, and then start calling. But I found one of the best ways to find mobile home parks is actually just to show up. Like find them on Google Maps. The big ones, you're not going to want them. They're owned by some hedge fund. It's not even worth your time. You want to find the ones that are under 50 lots, preferably like just outside of a big metro like Tulsa. So you want to find one in Sand Springs or Claremore or something like that, something a little bit smaller town. I think it's called Tushari town. I don't know. Someone correct me. And yeah, just show up. A lot of times the owner is actually there. The owner operator, they're actually managing it themselves. And that is the best mobile home park to find. Show up, be really courteous, and just say, hey, I'm looking to buy another mobile home park. We're looking to buy a mobile home park. Would you ever be interested in selling? That's it. They're either interested or they're not. There's no magic phrase you can say that's going to make someone interested who's not interested in selling. It's one of the biggest, I guess, lessons, especially when you're getting into real estate investing in general, is you want to make every single thing you look at work. And the reality is it's all a numbers game. Like you're not going to, like if you asked me to sell the park, like there's no number you could tell me that would make me sell. And even if you made an over asking price offer, then I would just question if you'd actually be able to do it and then wondering why. And I still may not agree to it. So it's like you're not going to, even if you offered me like 200, 300,000 above what I thought Big Country, the 96 lot park was worth, it doesn't mean I'm agreeing to sell it because I have no interest in selling. So you can't make someone motivated who's not motivated. You got to find motivated sellers, which means you might have to, knock on 100 doors before you find one person with a mobile home park that wants to sell. Thanks for the question, Hayden. Hope that was helpful. Anybody else have any questions about mobile home parks? No. All right. Well, I'm going to wrap it up. I appreciate everybody watching. If you find a mobile home park, Spark is growing. We'll gladly partner. Find the deal. I'll do everything else. In fact, I may make that the motto. You find the deal, and I will do legitimately everything else. Yeah, appreciate everybody watching. If you have any questions about mobile home parks or interested in joining the Spark group, just send me a DM and I'll be happy to talk with you about it. Hope everyone has a good night. Bye.